Hey, Christopher McCore here from Wholeness Geeks, and welcome to Meditation Happy Hour, where I share meditations, processes, practices, perspectives, both traditional and modern. And, well, it's so unfair that we have to work. That's a line from a new Doctor Who, a new version of Doctor Who that's playing on Disney Plus. I think it's like the third episode in on the first season, and he and his companion go to this world where there's the people have to work 4 hours a day, and this one woman was complaining. Well, what if we didn't have to work? What if we um, the reason most of us work, which is to make money, which what if that wasn't a factor? What would we do? And how does AI play into all of that? That's what I want to talk about today. Um, the reason we work for most of us is to make money. Um, but some of us work, of course, now we're getting into the definition of work, but some of us work to to make a contribution, but very often the work that we do is not making the contribution that we would like to be making. So, and what's the opposite of work? Well, the opposite of work is play. And why do we play? Um, we play for the joy of it, but I think there's another factor. I think we play to learn. At least that's why children play. Children are learning. They're curious, and there's a joy in learning and doing that in a curious, spontaneous way. So it's realistically possible that AI could take care of the work part of our existence, um, at least in part. Like if everybody had to work 4 hours a day, um, what would we do with the rest of the day? With the day, or if we really had the whole day to do what we want, what we do, and um, and not only having AI enable it us so that we would have that time to do what we want, but to have AI actually help us to do what we really wanted to do. So that's that's a that's a future reality that I feel would be good for all of us to take advantage, to take responsibility for now, just to start thinking. If I didn't have to work, what would I do? And how do you move into um, that scenario? I think the way you would move into it is by thinking about what your values are. What do I value, um, and kind of how that those values would make the world a better place, or at least make your world a better place. And once you have a sense of your values, like for me, like one of my values, let's see, let's pick one of my values. Um, let's see, it's hard to kind of narrow it down. Um, but one of my values is to capture the ideas, the insights that I have, um, and to turn them into some kind of expression through one or all of the five art forms. That's a value that I have, that I hold for myself, and uh, I suppose I try to inspire other people to hold that same value. So how does that value turn into a vision? In other words, what would that look like? How does that look like? And how might how can I do that? And how might AI help me do that? And I've actually come up with a process. Um, I use very extensively the Enneagram for organizing ideas, because they say that and I'm talking, when I say the Enneagram, I mean the ancient Enneagram, the Enneagram before they layered the typology, the personality system on top of it. Um, but I use the Enneagram to, like, when I have an idea, I'll just write that at the top of the page, and then I'll write down the components of that idea, just like what are the associations? And then I try to, I assign each one of those components. I usually try to come up with 9. Sometimes it's more. And then I assign those components to one of the points on the Enneagram. And when you do that, the Enneagram is it's an illustration of the archetypal energies in the universe. That's my opinion. So when you assign components of an idea, you're kind of organizing that idea according to the archetypal energies of the universe. And then what I'll do is I'll either just on my phone. Can you see my phone? Well, you can see the outline of it. Um, or on Zoom, I will talk about each one of those points. And in doing so, I'll create like it's like a podcast. And then I'll take that podcast and I'll turn that audio, right, that MP3 file, and turn it into a PDF. And then I'll feed that into something like Notebook LM, which is an AI. It's a podcast creator, but it creates it with a woman and a man's voice, and they're very authentic. It really sounds like two human beings discussing very intelligently and very astutely the idea that I've put in. And then I'll take I'll take that MP3, turn that into a PDF, and then I'm kind of off and running. It's like I can turn that into a story, I can turn the story into lyrics, and I've created GPTs to use different lyricists to help create lyrics, and then I feed those lyrics into a AI music generator, and that becomes a song. So I've started with an idea, and I can have a song from that idea. This is just a little snapshot of something of a process that illustrates how how my value can be aided, magnified by AI to create something in the world that and because it's a value I have, I believe that value is something good. It's good for the world, not only for me, but for the world. So, yeah, that's basically it. What I would like to challenge you to do is to think about what it would be like if you didn't have to work, and what would you do with your time? What kind of contribution would you make? Look at your values. Look at the vision that comes from those values, and think about how AI can help with that. And if you feel like you need some help with that, I'd be happy to help with that. You can join you can join the Wholeness Facebook the Wholeness Geeks Facebook group, and on there you can ask questions, make comments, even share your own ideas about things. So once again, I'm Christopher McCord from Wholeness Geeks, and this has been meditation happy hour, and thank you for watching and listening.